Yo, peace, peace. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. Hey, you know the vibes. See what vibes. Now, go study, son. Peace, peace, y'all. Welcome, welcome. This is Brother Faheem, and I am your most gracious and humble host of the Lead with Logic podcast. Hey, man, welcome back to another wonderful episode. Check this out, man. For those of you guys who are freshly rookies, y'all first time rocking out with me, let me explain to you what I do, man. I take the controversial, sensational, and the mundane, and through objective data, literature, books, peer-reviewed journals, articles, documentary clips, interviews, I extract the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so that people can now experience life in 3D and their enlightenment can be enhanced. Lead with Logic is a brand saying in a podcast. That's right, a brand saying in a podcast. As you guys can see, I have my nice Lead with Logic gear on. www.leadwithlogic.com. Excuse me, www.leadwithlogic7.com. That's leadwithlogic7.com. That's where you can go and get these hats, hoodies, and tees, and whatever else it is that you please. Man, it's an acronym that stands for letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. Yes, yes, yes. Every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are here. I'm doing my thing. And so, yeah, I'm doing what I do. Whew. Man, life moves at such an ultramagnetic pace. I try to keep my boots laced so that I can always be in a position to win the race. Hopefully, you guys Monday have been too blue and y'all been making it do what it do. There's so much trouble in the world, people. Can't nobody feel your pain. Yes, 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 yes. What is going on? It's a lot. It's been a lot going on. I figured I would come live. I got my sponsorship right here. StreamYard. It's been a lot going on, man. So much going on. Whew. It seems like it's been a domino of events lately, right? The sun been blasting. I'm gonna show y'all something. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that line. You see that? That's from this. I got a tan, man. I went outside. I was outside in that heat, and man, it cooked me and gave me a half moon hamburger bun tan. That's crazy, man. But but nonetheless, it seems to be a domino of events going on in the country right now. Yeah, it's a lot going on. It's a whole lot. It is getting cold outside, figuratively and literally. It's getting cold, and man, people are acting crazy, right? People are acting a fool. It's been some unfortunate occurrences to happen. It's been some alarming, right? Irritable for some. It's been a whole lot going on. Yeah, we all witnessed Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, who was the founder of the Turning Point organization, a conservative organization that was fighting to bring back conservatism, right? I think we all saw what happened, and it was just unfortunate. It was just so unfortunate. But from that, a few things have popped off. A few things have happened, and it's kind of wild, right? And it's a lesson to be learned in all of it. It's a lesson to be learned in all of it. And I wanted to really go over that. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send this link out to a few people so people can come in here. Yeah, so people can come in here. Peace, peace, peace. Whoever that is, man, I appreciate you coming through. Comments are open. Come on through and speak your piece. Let me know who you are, what's going on. Yeah, man, I'm sending out some notifications. While I do that, you know what? Let me pull some stuff up. Let me let y'all watch a little something while we wait. Yeah, I'm sending out some notifications, but the name of my topic is the universality of truth. Why do I want to call it the universality of truth? As thinking people, as intelligent people, individuals, we should always strive to find the silver lining of truth, the silver lining of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the silver lining of freedom, justice, and equality, the lessons, and whatever it is that we observe or that we witness. No matter how tragic or how joyous the occasion is, there's always something to be learned. Now, people who, some people think a little bit smaller than others, right? People don't know how to have vision. They're not visionaries. Um, they're not they're not visionaries at all. They're not visionaries at all. And so they don't really understand what it means to have foresight, right? Again, leading with logic, that's a part of the brain, right? Learning how to think, because having foresight would allow you to exercise that part of the brain that deals with reasoning and rationale, right? And it allows you to enhance that understanding. And so what I'm saying is, in all things, try to look for the understanding, right? Try to think critically to figure out what's the lesson that can be learned that you can use. That's what I do. It's how I live my life. I hadn't, you know, Leslie Walker. Who is Leslie? Who is Leslie Walker? Who is Leslie Walker? Leslie Walker. Leslie Walker, the Midnight Stalker. What's going on, Leslie Walker? But no, what I try to do is, man, I try to make sure that whatever the issue is, whatever's going on, I try to use my logic, and that helps me understand the world, right? It helps me to, and you have to excuse me, the weather's changing, y'all. So, um, but yes, I try to use my logic. Y'all get some people. Y'all send the people the link. Leslie, you another person. I appreciate y'all. Y'all rock out with me because I'm going over some great stuff. I got some real good conversation involved, and this is a dialogue disguised as a monologue, right? This is a dialogue that we having, but it's a monologue. Because if y'all talk back, if y'all talk to me, I'm gonna talk black right back. You dig? But I try to find that silver lining of truth. I try to make sure that I see what it is, and I can't. You have to be able to think critically, right? You can't go with the group think. You can't be led by emotion. You have to be led by your logic, and you have to really have a deep, deep desire and understanding, or a desire for understanding in life. What is going on, right? What's happening with Charlie Kirk? What is the meaning? I should say. I don't mean what happened. We know what happened. What is the meaning of it, right? And how did this affect society at large? How did it affect us? Well, what's see now, the walker got me. That's what got me. It was the walker. That's what got me. That's what got me, the walker. Plus, I was saying I don't have my glasses on. You the second person from Exodus that came through. Kush came through last week and was and she rocked out with me for a second. But hey, I'm glad to see you, man. Yeah, I had to go ahead on and leave. X, it got too polluted over there. It got too toxic. It got way too toxic. Way, way, way too toxic for me. I couldn't do it, man. It's a bad investment on my time. I do business over there, but as far as personal and stuff like that, no, it's not real constructive for me. But hey, you take that time. But nonetheless, that's right. See, now I know. But what's the lesson in it? What's going on? Because see, what happens is people, if they're not careful or if they don't think deeply, then they could be sucked up. They can be taking the bluff. Oh, I already know. I know that. Look, what I appreciate that. But what goes without saying don't even need to be said, because it's the same with you. It's already the same. I know you're doing your thing, and I know you bringing light over there where it needs to be, and I'm proud of you for that. But with Charlie Kirk, this thing has spun. It spiraled out of control, right? Because what it's done is we have now seen, when they flew the flag at half staff for Charlie Kirk, and I don't have anything against Charlie Kirk. I think it was, let me say that at the outstart, right? Because they're going after journalists and content creators and people who speak out against him. Let me say this: I have nothing against Charlie Kirk. I didn't even really know who he was. He wasn't on my radar, as none of them are. I'm not a person that concerns himself too much with what other people are doing. I try to concern myself with things that I can control and that things that are within my power, and those like-minded people, those like-minded groups that think like me, because we can get something done. It's cool to be aware of people and what they are doing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but to get invested in that to where I have an emotional response, no, that's not me. But they flew the flag half staff for Charlie Kirk, and I'm gonna show some stuff of who he was. Just a little bit of background information, who Charlie Kirk was. And people begin to now state their opinions of Charlie Kirk, right? And just like anything and anybody, some people liked him, some people didn't. Depending on where you swung on that pendulum was going to probably dictate what your uh, what your perspective or what your opinion of him was. And you have your right to it, right? But now it kind of got a little bit extreme when, like, I expected a lot of, it's deep. I expected a whole lot of people to have a lot of praise for Charlie Clark. Because if you don't know what the turning point is, that's a pretty big movement. That was more than an organization. That was a movement. He was going on. He had the ear of the young people, right? Because he was going on. He was going on college campuses everywhere, and he was drawing huge crowds, huge crowds, huge crowds. And so he was doing something right. He was doing something right. That's what I'm trying to say. And he had the ear of the young people. They really supported him. I look I look like another callus. Like another callus. Absolutely. It's like another callus. Um, they had his support. He had the support of those people. He really did. He really had their support. And it was a shame. But now there have been other people who have been killed. There have been other people who have been slaughtered, who have been assassinated. And people have made jokes. People have made fun. Nationally, locally, internationally, domestically, however you want to put it. And so, but what we see here is the difference is it seems to have made its way up all the way into the White House, right? Because the president made some remarks about going after people. Pam Bondi. I'm gonna show you guys what was said. But let's go into it. But it's starting to go into the waters of freedom of speech. So we're gonna try to see what the lessons are, right? Charlie Kirk. Let's see who was Charlie Kirk. Who was Charlie Kirk? Just something simple for those of you guys who don't know. Let me see something. I'm gonna put this on. I'm about to show this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm about to show this. Welcome. This Charlie Kirk stuff. Let's get a video of who Charlie Kirk was. So we're just gonna go over who he was so we can get a feel for him. So this is a little bit about who Charlie Kirk was. For those of you guys who don't know, check it out.
This is the moment that he was shot. Blood was then seen pouring from the side of his head, from his neck, and now this.
That's right. We're now more than an hour since this happened, and the concern and the prayers expressed by Republican leadership especially came quickly. We've seen several Democratic Party leaders as well condemn political violence in this country. This is yet another high-profile example of it. And I think, Maurice, it's important that we acknowledge that there are probably many people watching right now who don't necessarily know who Charlie Kirk is, are not familiar with the work he's been doing for the last several years, because in our increasingly digital and divided world, he may not have been served up to them in their algorithm and in their feeds. And he is a 31-year-old from the Chicago suburbs, as you said, founded this group Turning Point USA back in 2012, inspired by the Tea Party movement. And he very quickly became a really influential conservative leader, especially among younger conservatives, galvanizing them to vote for various Republican candidates, and became very close with the Trump family, the president, Donald Trump Jr. especially. He was among those that pushed now President Trump to select J.D. Vance as his running mate, believing that Vance reflected the future of the Make America Great Again movement, and was able to convince him to do that. And then last year, during the presidential transition, was in Palm Beach at Mar-a-Lago on a regular basis, meeting with the president directly, handpicking potential leaders for the new Trump administration, cabinet secretaries and other senior government officials, weighing in, saying that they were key to the new government. And he was hosting, in this case, as you can see there on the 10th, the American Comeback Tour. This was the opening of this tour that was set to go to other campuses across the country. They regularly draw thousands of people, mostly students, mostly men. And as you see there on the tent, it says, "Prove me wrong." He had this popular segment where he would essentially sit at a table, and in this case, under a tent, and invite people who disagree with him on issues to, quote, "prove me wrong." And they would have an exchange of ideas that was generally respectful. And it could be on anything from issues in the Constitution to something in the cultural zeitgeist at the moment. And the goal was to just have those free flow of exchanges between them. But he was most especially an influential and key figure in the Trump movement, again, close with the president, and many in the White House who this afternoon are quite stricken by this news. Our colleagues who are over at the White House say when this news broke, as they learned about it as we did, many of them rushed into closed-door meetings and have been seen to be quite upset by this, understandably, because this is somebody who worked with them to get Donald Trump reelected, and in many cases probably weighed in on whether or not they should be holding the jobs they do, and would have campaigned alongside him back in the day.
Okay, Ed O'Keefe, thank you for that. Vice President J.D. Vance weighing in, saying, "Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord," sending out a prayer for Charlie Kirk. 31 years old, a major figure on the right. Even if you don't know him, he was known and loved by many people across the country. Let's go to our CBS News Chief Washington analyst, Robert Costa. You can't overstate his impact on the right, Bob.
A tragic moment with many developments at this time. The governor of Utah has just posted on social media, Governor Cox, that he spoke with President Trump and said that, quote, "We will bring to justice the individual responsible for this tragedy." So President Trump, talking to many people involved on the phone, CBS News, has also just learned that the House of Representatives, led by Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, just is called for a moment of silence to recognize the death of Charlie Kirk and to offer prayers for his family. This is a seismic political moment in American politics. While he is so young, as Ed O'Keefe said, he is someone with enormous influence and power. And this comes at a politically charged moment in this country where so many people feel on edge. You feel it when you cover events, when you cover the president of the United States. But this is something I've been covering conservative politics for nearly 20 years. He is such a star because of the way he articulated his views and was able to sit down with people not only on the right and in the center, but to sit down with figures like Governor Gavin Newsom of California and many Democrats. This is the death of someone with influence, but also the death of a rising political star. So many Republicans on Capitol Hill are heartbroken because they saw him as a friend. They also saw him as a real leader of conservative politics in this country. And for the president to make the statement about his death tells you a lot about how President Trump, who has been the Republican nominee for the past 3 presidential cycles, how he feels about this man. And it's hard to quantify and characterize the amount of anger, frustration, pain that is being felt in so many corners of American politics right now, especially those who knew Charlie Kirk.
And Bob, he had no small part in helping Donald Trump get reelected, right? I mean, Trump gives him a lot of credit for getting out there and getting the youth votes.
President Trump certainly does. Over the years, I've talked to President Trump, and he believes he's always at the center of his political movement, and he's the one who drives it forward. But even he has acknowledged in recent years that it was people like Charlie Kirk who, in the wake of his defeat in 2020, stood by him through legal challenges, through other issues. Charlie Kirk helped President Trump on the outside rebuild a political movement that ultimately lifted him to the White House in 2024. And you see these crowds, it's reminiscent of a Trump rally, but with a younger audience. And he was someone who connected President Trump to younger people who felt displaced in the culture or in the political system. And in the way others on the left and center have rallied youth, Charlie Kirk was someone who rallied youth on the right. And he became a force on college campuses, a force inside the Republican Party. I've spoken to Republican politicians in recent years who said speaking at a Turning Point USA rally was just as powerful sometimes for their own constituencies as speaking at a Trump rally. And this is going to, already it is, based on our reporting here, convulsing so much of the political conversation in this country. The agitation, the anger, it is coursing through so many of the text messages, the phone calls I've had within the past hour, outrage that this violence is having such an impact on a major American political figure like Charlie Kirk, who was as high profile as almost anyone else on the right, competing with those on television in elected office. He was seen as someone with political capital, not just famous, but influential.
Yeah, Bob, and I think a word you used there, connect. He really knew how to connect with the people, with the voters, and help Donald Trump get reelected. The reaction pouring in from across the political spectrum, as we keep telling you. Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader, Minority Leader, I should say, saying political violence has no place in America. The shooting is horrifying, and I'm praying for Charlie Kirk and his family.
So that's a little bit about Charlie Kirk and who he was as an individual. He was a young conservative. He was a college campus celebrity. He was a man who was deeply dedicated and devoted to his cause, which was conservatism and the right wing, like the Tea Party, and he was a Trump supporter. Hey, it's nothing wrong with that. We're in America, right? He can support who he wants to support, and people have the right to say what they want to say. Go over a few other things, few pieces of context. I'm not going to play for you guys. I'm going to give you all straight content, no chaser. You dig? I want y'all to see and have a bit of a reference point to what I'm talking about. Now, that is what was that's what was said, or that's the picture of who Charlie Kirk was. Now, Pam Bondi, she said something on hate speech. Now, here's the thing about America. Violence, racism, and sex sell here because it's inwoven within the fabric of America, right? This is not the first time we've seen political violence on one side. If we really, what's going on? I see you, crisscross. If we really think about where we are, right? The times in which we live, I would say this. I'm gonna name some people, right, who have been killed, political people. So they took a shot at Donald Trump, which some people thought that was staged. You can't prove that, right? Like, I'm not a person who, like, I don't argue with people anymore because a lot of times people don't even debate. To debate, you have to have a resolve and an affirmative, right? You have to have sides by proof, not just by your friend says something. A lot of people online say something. This has to be something that's absolutely, totally credible, scientifically, mathematically proven. Oftentimes, people don't even care to get that deep into knowledge. But okay. But here goes the facts. Donald Trump, they tried to assassinate him. I'm just going backwards. Remember, they threw the shoe at it was overseas, I won't say, but they threw the shoe at George Bush Jr. They tried to kill Reagan, right? They killed President Kennedy. They killed President Lincoln. Now, those are people on the political side. Now, here go some people who affected politics. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, John Brown. Y'all go look John Brown up. Hell, y'all look Malcolm and Martin up. Then there were people, right? There were people who were like regular people, right? Who were just people who were lay people who were killed. Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, Tamir Rice, Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin. These were all people who were killed, assassinated. They were all people who died publicly, or the public had access to their death. But people didn't quite mourn the same. People didn't mourn the same with these folks, right? Like I said earlier, depending on what side you swing on the pendulum, that really depends on how you view these people and how they got killed, how they were murdered, right? Or what your perspective was, right? I'm a person who believes in free speech. Now, I'm gonna wait. I want y'all to see this. Y'all need to see what was said before I make my statements. I'm trying not to be emotional and jump in front of myself. But I want y'all to see. So y'all saw who Charlie Kirk was. Now I want you to see who the president and Pam Bondi, how they describe him and what they described happened when people now began to criticize and give. I wouldn't say criticize. Well, some people started to criticize his comments, as they should be able to. This is America. But Pam Bondi said that they were going to do some things. She said they were going to do some things to people. And I said, that's interesting. Really now. So let me pull up this clip. I'll pull up this clip for you. I didn't put you up there. Let me put this up there. All right, here we go. Here we go. Wait. Nope, this ain't it. I'm sorry. I'm looking for what she said. I don't want to hear anybody else. I don't want to hear people talking about it. I want y'all to hear it from her mouth. Yeah, I want y'all to hear her mouth. Pam Bondi on. But she made that statement. And I said, oh, wow. Wow. She said, we're going to get you. Y'all bear with me. Hopefully, again, y'all having a good Monday. Bear with me. Yes, it's just targeting. There we go. I saw it and I said, ooh. Yeah, I'm pulling this right on up. Hold on. So you guys can see. Let me, you know what? Yeah, y'all need to see this because this is interesting. I'm going to pull it up. It's in my history. I watched it and I said, damn, at this point, when people begin, again, when Charlie Kirk died, people began to be critical. People began to celebrate. It was just an outpouring of emotion. And I get it. When you witness something so traumatic, which I'm not for showing, we've become desensitized to these things, right? We see people get killed. We see people getting maimed. We see people getting all kind of things done. It's like the girl on the subway. All those people sat there and watched, right? And we become so desensitized that we don't do anything. But, we can't pick and choose, right? It's all a tragedy. It's all a tragedy. All a tragedy. All a tragedy. All a tragedy. And what I mean is we can't pick and choose. If we're gonna, I get it. If we're going to, I think the people would respond more in a more level-headed fashion if it was perceived that this was equal and this wasn't unbalanced. See, right now the conservatives run the government, right? They're even talking about adjusting the Constitution so that Trump can run, so he can run a third time, right? Look that up, right? They are actually talking about amending the Constitution so that Trump can run a third time. But now, again, all those people that I named, people make jokes, people disrespect, people spit on their names all the time. I see all kinds of things. I even shared something about Dr. King. People saying Dr. King was a bad man. This man has a statue, y'all. This man was heavily and played a paramount and a critical role in 1965 Civil Rights Act, right? So, you know, are people now becoming upset when people throw dirt on Dr. King? You know, you have to ask, you have to wonder, but I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to see Pam Bondi. I'm trying to pull this up, this Pam Bondi thing, what she said, because I thought it was very relevant to the conversation. Very, very relevant to the conversation. Very, very relevant. Very, very relevant. And then Trump is going after rivals. Let me see. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. Y'all bear with me. I'm trying to find it. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
We also just saw Attorney General Pam Bondi make some remarks, likely about this memo about Memphis sending in a surge of law enforcement, also potentially about this Charlie Kirk assassination and that fatal shooting. Let's listen in briefly.
Well, I'm never going to talk about who's under investigation. Especially organized groups who are jeopardizing the lives of our men and women in law enforcement. Earlier today, you heard Stephen Miller talking and you heard the president talking about these organized groups who are out there doxing law enforcement, having people swatted at their homes. That jeopardizes lives. And that's why it's so serious. None of these are pranks. This is an organized effort paying people to come in and commit acts of violence. So yes, we're looking at a lot of people, never going to mention what groups we're investigating.
Is there any evidence that the president or the administration thinking of sending the National Guard
To New York. To New York. Well, I think the president made it really clear. Of course, we're going into Memphis. He just signed the executive order, and we're excited about that because the governor of Memphis is on board with us. So are the two U.S. senators and law enforcement. So we're going to come in and do everything we can to make Memphis like we're doing here in D.C. Well, he's also talked about other cities. I think Chicago is top of his list right now, for sure. In any city where there's violent crime is on the president's list to make it safe for the citizens who live there. I really do have to go. I'll take one more.
How will you protect First Amendment rights when you are exploring investigations into liberal-leaning groups and they have protections? How will you strike that balance?
Sure. First Amendment is one of our most important amendments, of course, in our Constitution. We will always protect the First Amendment. But you cannot create violence, and that's what's happening. When people are working together, you talked about RICO, it's RICO. When people are working in concert to commit crimes, the president was talking about people who are breaking up bricks, throwing it at police cars, people who are being paid to dox police officers, to dox victims of crimes, that can jeopardize lives. And that's when you cross the line from First Amendment to a crime. And we will prosecute. Any evidence about Robert?
And we will prosecute you. So Pam Bondi, she basically laid it out, right? She laid out what will be a punishable offense, right? I know a lot of people be online saying a whole lot of things. You might want to watch that. You might want to watch that because she said, you working with people or you saying things, you getting people doxxed. You coordinating things, activities with other people so that they can now be harmed or they can be violated. They can be made to be victims. They're going to persecute you for that. They're going to hunt you down and persecute you. And I know on some apps that I've been on, people are on there saying what they're going to do. People are making threats. See, that's going to be all considered hate speech now. And it should be, as it should be. If you're online threatening people, if you're online causing a disturbance, if you are online and you now take action or you're talking about taking action, absolutely, I'm all for it. You should be persecuted to the full extent of the law. I mean, why would you do that, right? And it's really no different than them using Facebook, Instagram, and all of these other technologies against you in the court of law. They're just using you against you. And I don't think anybody has a problem with that per se. The issue comes in now with the interpretation of what hate speech is. See, my perspective is this. If we make one streamlined definition, then it's all good, right? If the speech leads to violence, it's hate speech, right? If it directly initiates or invokes a violent response and you are directly involved, well, I'm not talking about music that people hear and then they say, oh, I was listening to such and such, now I want to go do such and such. No, that's not it. They use the music as a premise. We're talking about you actively making threats, you actively making statements that would now forewarn or lead to violence. Absolutely. Now, if that's what hate speech is, I can get behind it. Hate speech to me is not people criticizing any figure. This is America, right? And in America, freedom of speech, that First Amendment is supposed to be free. Now, I get it, y'all. Freedom of speech really has always come with some sort of price. Whether at the lowest level, it's a fist fight, or at the highest level, now that we're seeing, it's official prosecution or persecution, right? But let's not get out of hand to where we are taking offense to things and everything becomes hate speech that we don't like. Because if that happens, then everybody's in a world of trouble. Remember now, we live in a place where people have always made satire of political figures, regardless of they're alive or dead. People make fun, and you get selective about your indignation. You get selective about who you're gonna be upset about because, like I mentioned, a lot of figures that are black a lot of people who are killed that are black, no one says anything. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying, and listen, there are also some white people that get killed that people don't have this type of ruckus with, right? I'm merely saying, let's not pick and choose as to who we getting upset about. Let's get upset about all of them, because I would agree with the people. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve to die like that, and he certainly didn't deserve to die in front of his family or in front of the whole world, internet, and 3 other people. That's not cool. But I also understand that in this country we have laws that would or we have, I won't say laws, we have policies and procedures that we might need to reform and restructure, right? So that this type of thing can be prevented or prohibited, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to pull up what Donald Trump said, because he was vocal about it as well. He had a bit to say about it as well. Yeah, Donald Trump had a lot to say about it as well. And I think it's scaring people, right? Because now, you've been allowing for fun to be made of highly accessible people for years. What's different, right? What's different about Charlie Kirk? You understand what is different? And I'm not talking about just people like under the definition that Pam Bondi used, right? People who are saying things that directly lead to violence. I'm talking about people who just might have a negative perspective of something that one of these people said. See, we don't have to like what people say in America, and we can speak out and ventilate our frustration. That's part of this country, right? That's a part of the rights that people have in this country. But when you now take those rights away, people begin to question, is this even the country that they love? Right? What's going on? And so, yeah, I'm about to put this on. This is what the president said. All right, hold on. Let's see.
John Carlin. John, this is the latest in a series of pretty extraordinary steps the president's team have taken to punish adversaries, silence critics, stifle free speech.
For sure, George. And those were extraordinary words that we just heard from the president overnight on Air Force One, talking about revoking broadcast license, taking networks off the air if he doesn't believe that they have been fair to him. And the week started out with him suing the New York Times and telling me directly that his attorney general might go after reporters if he doesn't like what we have reported. Donald Trump has made it perfectly clear that he would like to use the power of the federal government to silence his critics.
And he's now using the power of the federal government, making a new move against the New York attorney general who prosecuted him, Letitia James.
George, this is a major escalation of the president's effort to get retribution against his political rivals. ABC News has learned that President Trump is expected to fire a top federal prosecutor for failing to file criminal charges against Letitia James, somebody who is obviously very high on the president's enemies list. The prosecutor is Eric Siebert. He is the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, arguably the most important U.S. attorney's office in the country, responsible for the bulk of counterterrorism, espionage cases. And his office has been investigating James for 5 months on allegations of mortgage fraud that have been brought by the administration. He found no evidence to go forward with the prosecution. declined to do so. And now we are told that he will be fired. ABC News has learned that the president intends to put somebody else in the U.S. Attorney's office who will more aggressively prosecute the New York Attorney General.
And also the president now going to the Supreme Court with his effort to fire Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve Board, long considered independent. He has tried to fire Lisa Cook. Two separate federal courts have said he does not have the power to do that. Now he's going to the Supreme Court. This is be a major test of presidential power.
Yeah, and the president and his team are raising this issue of mortgage fraud, but of course, several members of his own administration have also faced similar questions. No prosecution of them. John Carl, thanks very much.
So yeah. Trump's talking about going after those people who aren't saying or reporting stuff that is false. He also made some statements. I'm not gonna pull it up, but he also made some statements that said he's talking about going after journalists. You know, hey, all journalists and people who are reporting are saying things that he said was false. Hey, you know, in different countries, I'll say this: in different countries, they don't allow certain ideologies into their country because they understand how it affects the mind of the people, young people, but it also affects the mind of the masses. And so I get it, but I just don't, I'm not sure if that will go in America, because America has been such a beacon for freedoms since its inception, right? Whether or not it's held true to those freedoms, it has always tried to uphold. That is what America stands for. That is what America now. That's what America now is proud of and proudly boasts. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if this will fly. I'm not, you know, and I know the Congress and the House, the Republicans control all of that, but I very, 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 very seriously doubt that he will be able to get away with some of those things. Not, and it's not because I'm concerned or because I don't want it. It's because I understand how the United States government and how the United States, the country, works. Right? The president, he's not all powerful. He needs help. He needs allies, as any powerful person does. But now, the shaping of that Constitution is what's going to tell the tale. If he can restructure the Constitution, we are in trouble. We are absolutely in trouble. If they can get them to restructure the Constitution, it's a wrap for America. I mean, it's a real wrap. But so you have a lot of outpouring for Charlie Kirk, and I understand it. The man, listen, the man had his perspective. He had his say. He did. I'm not one who's celebrating his death, but I'm also not necessarily mourning it either. I think he was a man of conviction, and he was a man of morals and his own principles, and I respect that about any man, right? To stand up, because you understand when you stand on principle, if you know, there's always going to be a person that's going to challenge and test, are you willing to die on those principles? And I want to say that Charlie Kirk was willing to die, and so you have to respect that. But now on the other side of the coin, he also had people who just didn't inherently agree with him, and that's their right. Again, in America, they have the right, and we've seen this this violence, and we get, again, like I said, we get selective. So I'm really wondering what the issue or what the difference is. Why Charlie Kirk? Why all the kerfuffle about Charlie Kirk? But then again, I understand that he was an asset to the Republican Party, right? And the Republicans right now are the people who are dominating our political landscape. So the majority wins. A majority of the people do not want you to say anything negative, derogatory about that party. So unless you are a free, independent, autonomous person living amongst us, I would suggest you act accordingly, right? I'm never going to tell you to go out there and shoot yourself in the foot or chop your hand off. I'm going to tell you to figure out the landscape, look, listen, and observe at where you are and move accordingly. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and it's a hell of a lot of ways to catch a rat. So you have to really adjust. That's it. That's all. you know, with Charlie Kirk, you know, if people don't have compassion, if you do not have compassion for other ethnic groups when their leaders die, when people are mourning, hey, you can't really expect them to have compassion for your leaders or those people who you find important. You know, I'm gonna use the lowest hanging fruit that I can. Malcolm X. When Malcolm X was killed, people called him an anti-Semite. They called him a demagogue. They called him some of everything except a child of God. How do you think that made the people who love Malcolm feel? Those of us who are with Malcolm, those of us who admire, those of us who learned from Malcolm. That was something that we had to deal with, that we had to eat. And we couldn't legally do anything because in America, people have the freedom of speech. They can say these things. They can say them. They can say these things. That's how the cookie crumbles. There's so much how the cookie crumbles, but yeah. So yeah, so it's a universality. The universality of truth is this. You have to be open-minded and you have to say to yourself, what is good for one is good for the other. I cannot expect people to have compassion for my leaders, my loved ones, and my family if I had none for theirs, or it was perceived I had none for theirs, right? And until America changes its very constitution, which they might be doing, then we can't have a problem with that. Now, I agree if you're reporting a lie and that you can be sued and held liable for that. You can. If you're putting out there, you would have to redact your statements and send out a formal, hey, this was untrue. I'm for that too. But yeah, with Charlie Kirk, I mean, I think he went out in the way that he would have loved to gone out, standing on his principles. Yeah. So yeah, I am going to wrap it up. It's 9 o'clock. But listen, I want you guys to always, always, always go to leadwithlogic7.com. All of a sudden, I just got tired. Leadwithlogic7.com. Next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Listen, may we all meet again in the light of understanding. And I appreciate you guys. Peace and love. Yeah.